Hello and welcome to Views from the Sideline, episode 14 in our NBA playoff preview episode. With me today, my co-host Joey Tysick, I'm Chris Pappas, and recurring guest on the show, Malik Hill, joins us once again. He's the host of Turnover Thursdays on 88.3 WXOU The Grizz. Airs at 7 a.m. every Thursday. You can check him out there. Malik, happy to have you once again. It's becoming kind of a Tuesday night tradition.
Oh, yeah, I love being here. It's great to be back. Can't wait to talk the playoffs. Can't wait to talk about Donovan Mitchell. I have some things to say. So maybe controversial, we'll see.
You're talking about Donovan Mitchell in a playoff preview?
He's in the playoffs, Joe.
I know, but I mean,
he's leading
that's
a team.
That's your highlight of the playoff
he's
preview?
Okay, fair enough. Anyways, before we get into our playoff preview, the whole rundown of the show today, we're going to break down the playoffs, but the Detroit Pistons season has come to a conclusion. I mean, we have Wednesday night's game against Chicago to finish off the regular season, but they're out of the playoffs. They've locked up the 9th seed for the second straight year, so that's a fun.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's a fun little.
And I mean,
token.
the good thing was we didn't have to go through like the whole week of them. They lost right away. Like we didn't have to worry about them potentially making the playoffs. They lost right away. It was like
As soon as we
perfect.
brought it up on air, that night it was over.
Yeah, they got blown out, and then they got destroyed by the Grizzlies. We don't even have to talk about that.
I was about to
game.
say, did either of you
Grizzlies
watch that Grizzlies game? That was ugly.
You talked about earlier in the season playing the G League Hawks. That was like
They still had Marc Gasol, though.
that was like
Kobe Simmons.
Kobe Simmons career had 20 points. Good. Shout out to Kobe.
LMNOP
Kobe Simmons.
League Memphis Grizzlies. Marshawn Brooks.
Marshawn
That guy was
Brooks.
a stud. I liked him back
He
in the
looked
day,
good.
but he's one of those players that kind of just like fell off and then never got another chance. And all of a sudden he's back and he drops 25.
You know what I think is going to be good for the Grizzlies, actually? Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks,
Dude
I
looks
like him.
solid.
I mean, he's already played pretty good this year.
He's
pretty
played
good.
pretty good this year, and they put the ball in his hand to run the offense. So I feel like he's got a bright future. But yeah, let's talk some Pistons here. They're 38-43. They'll likely win that last game because Stan likes to win the last game just for tokens. But so they're 38-43. Last game against Chicago in Chicago on Wednesday. Joey, wrap up this Pistons season for me in a nutshell.
Disappointment. I don't know how you can say anything else. They started off hot. Yeah, they lost Reggie, but they shouldn't have lost that much to where then they go on to lose so many in a row. Disappointment. They can't get over the hump. They finished under 500 again. They're just this is where we're talking about there needs to be a change, and it's unfortunate, but I think this experiment has ended and it's time to move on.
Malik, I'll let you have the floor here. What's your one word to describe this Pistons season?
I can't use one. I'm going to use two. He said disappointment. I'm going to say extreme disappointment because
okay, that's the biggest cop out I've seen.
Wow.
listen, being stuck in the middle is the worst thing to be as an NBA team. You either tank and get a lottery pick.
Well, not if you
Or
don't
you
have
make
a
the
first-round
playoffs.
pick.
Oh yeah.
Then it doesn't matter.
And a part of it is you swing for the fences to get people in the seats. You get Blake Griffin, and he looks good as a Piston.
He does.
They played.
Yes, he definitely
they played
looks
well
good.
for.
Although, what we have I think it's a 3% chance to get top 4.
If okay,
3%.
There's a chance.
I'm
So
saying
there's
on
a
the show
chance.
right now, if we get a top 3 pick, I will be the happiest guy in the world.
What if I told you?
Luka Doncic in a Pistons uniform, please.
Luke
give
and
me
Luca, 1 and 2.
that. Luke and Luka.
I don't
but-
know. I would look at a big man. Anyway, that's draft preview. We don't have to go into that kind of stuff
Yeah,
today.
because we have such wing depth right now.
We don't have to worry
Yeah,
about that
yeah,
kind of stuff right now. Let's
Anthony
just-
Tolliver. What was your nickname for him?
It's
The
the
Tolliver
Tolliver
effect?
effect. It's not
Yeah.
my nickname. It's the
Tolliver effect.
that was granted to him in the 2015-16 season. The
38
Tolliver
wins.
effect.
Tolliver effect.
He's one of the best role players in the NBA. I don't care what you say, Malik. I don't care. But yeah, if I have to describe this season, Joe says disappointment. Malik says extreme disappointment.
Please do not one up us.
It's just disheartening. Disheartening is the word. You come in with all this momentum. You come in with all this possibilities for a great team, especially you start off the season 14-6, like you say, Joe. And fans are looking at the top 3 seeds. Detroit's up there. I think at one point they were like a 2 seed or a 1 seed, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked good. They were playing dynamite defense led by Avery Bradley. Yeah, that Avery Bradley was a Piston. Reggie Jackson was playing well. Everybody was playing well.
Tobias Harris was the best shooter in the league.
Tobias Harris he was one of the best shooters
yes.
in the league. And then the Reggie injury. He turns that ankle pretty badly. I believe it was like a couple days before Christmas. And they go 12-26 without Reggie in the lineup, and your season's over. The fact that your season depended on who Joey says is not really the greatest point guard. I mean, they were 20.
I'm gonna hold to it.
They're 26-16 with Reggie in the lineup.
They have one of the best,
without
in my opinion. They have one of the better, maybe not best, but they have one of the better backup point guards in the league in Ish Smith. I think he's proved it throughout his career that he can. He's started in a lot of games. I still don't think he's a starter, obviously. But I think he's a solid point guard that should have been able to get us through. But the team just in general, they just lacked all sorts of discipline on defense all of a sudden. They lost everything that had won them games. It wasn't Reggie that was winning games at the beginning of the season. Yeah, maybe he had some leadership role played into it, but they didn't play defense.
Well, I think most of what played into it was the perimeter shooting. When you take Reggie out of the equation, Reggie's close to a 40% three-point shooter, especially the threat of him driving and kicking to other shooters. I think that plays a huge role in it. Ish Smith, at the time, Ish has come on now as a three-point shooter a little bit here to the tail end of the season. But early in the year, teams just sagged off Ish the whole time. And especially when you have Andre Drummond out there who's starting to facilitate the offense more. You have Ish and Andre who aren't getting played any defense. Then you have Tobias and Reggie Bullock and whoever else on the court who actually can shoot. They're not getting any space because the defense is just focused on them. I think that played a big role. He is the prototypical backup point guard. I don't think he's one of the best backup point guards because he can't step in and fill that role. We saw it. They were 12-27 with Reggie out of the lineup.
I don't think that was Ish's fault.
Yeah,
I can't say that was
If you can't shoot a 3-point jump shot, though, like that's what really hindered this team. If Ish had a 3-point shot, I don't think they only win 12 games.
We really struggled at the 4 position, too, though. Like, Anthony Tolliver, yeah, he's had a good end to his season, but I mean, he wasn't doing this.
It was Tobias Harris.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they had issues, like we talked about earlier, is like their wing play was such an issue of figuring out that lineup that they wanted to use, and they constantly were changing it between Avery Bradley. And Avery Bradley, I think, is to blame for a lot of those losses. He played really bad towards the middle of the season.
He came on hot and kind of died down real
and
quick.
Tobias stayed strong the whole year. I think
even when he got
he's
traded
had a
to
great
LA.
year.
Yeah,
he's had a great year overall.
Career year. And if another shout out to someone that actually had a really good year, Reggie Bullock came on as actually a wing caliber player in the NBA.
I think he was third. I think he was third in
3-point shooting.
The NBA in 3-point shooting.
Yeah, he was second for a long time, and he got passed up for one of these last few days. But yeah, Reggie was huge down the stretch. I think he's going to be a starter next year, especially since your whole team is kind of capped out, so you got to work with what you got. Disappointments. James Ennis was a disappointment to me. He couldn't.
I think the whole trade deadline was a disappointment.
James Ennis
we talked
was a
about it.
disappointment.
How do we have Jameer trade for Jameer Nelson?
There was
How do
a
you
lot
sign
of
Dwight Bikes in free agency?
There was a lot of good small moves that teams made later in the day, and the Pistons really bit themselves by trying to deal early in the day. They weren't patient with the deals. If you saw later in the day, deals were being made that teams were just panicking to throw away their players, and you saw people leave for almost nothing.
And I know you're big on the Alfred Payton trade.
Yeah,
that's the one you're
I know he might not be
to.
a game changer necessarily, but to get a guy he can get you a triple-double, and he's still young, to go just for a second-round pick seems like that's exactly what the Pistons would have liked to have since they were shopping their second-round picks, and they end up getting Jameer Nelson and James Ennis. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, Jameer Nelson was a complete and utter disappointment as a Piston. But I want to move on to the happier times here. I'm going to go one by one with you guys. Give me your best moment. I know it's hard. They did win 38 games. That's more than what they usually do, which is a sad state of the Pistons, but that's honestly more than they usually do. They won 37 last year. They win 38 this year. Their highest win total in 10 years is 44. In 10 years, their highest win total is 44. They haven't won a playoff game in 10 years.
That's hard to think.
Hurts.
That's hard to think about because I always just know the Pistons as being this dominant force in the East, and then, like now 10 years have gone by and they're nothing. Nobody even cares about Detroit anymore, which is sad because it's a good sports town, and I love going to Pistons games.
I'm almost speechless. I don't know what to say about that because
But
growing up, seeing them go to the Eastern Conference Finals 7-8 straight years,
Yep.
right,
and then seeing that fall off.
and this is the hardest time because
it's
this is
crazy.
one of the longest droughts that the Pistons have ever had in their franchise.
Exactly.
Because you think there was
Before Isaiah
the Bad
Thomas
Boys,
was the last time this
the
happened.
Bad Boys
maybe.
really dominated in the late 80s, early 90s. And then that went away, and you get the Grant Hill, Jerry Stackhouse,
Which
just
was
kind of
fun.
stars
Yeah.
that were
Yeah.
fun, but the team wasn't very good. All of a sudden, you start getting like,
I think the team could have been very good though if Grant doesn't get snake bitten
right,
with injuries.
yeah, obviously, but
some bad luck there.
so you go into this weird like Chucky Atkins, Michael Curry era, and then all of a
Clifford
sudden,
Robinson.
and then all of a sudden, this
Cliff.
team just builds into what is now known as the 2004 NBA champions. Of that, just 5 great players all playing together, coming together to play.
The best 5 alive.
And now we're in another lull. I thought, okay, well, we drafted Greg Monroe. We got Brandon Knight.
Greg Monroe was good for the time too.
Yeah.
Early on, he looked solid.
Right. And that team looked okay. And even Rodney Stuckey, I thought was going to be something good.
He
and
had a lot of
just-
potential, but it
He
just
never
worked.
really turned
And
out.
I think Joe Dumars sold very early and low on Brandon Knight too. Knight came on before his injury issues. That year he got traded to Milwaukee. He should have been an all-star. He got snubbed. They picked Kyle Korver and gave Atlanta 4 all-stars that year. It should have been Brandon Knight.
and now I think he's the laughingstock of the NBA with the most historic, embarrassing
It's such-
moments of all time.
No,
With, like, and
people
he's got
pick
like
on him, man.
3.
It happens
Yeah,
to everybody.
People do pick on him.
People just pile on and pile on.
It's
I'm
true,
telling
but
you,
I mean,
give him a healthy summer. The dude is an NBA player.
I mean,
he is.
he
the
is.
DeAndre Jordan dunk was a little ridiculous.
Okay, that's one.
But anyway, that team, you thought, okay, maybe they could do something, and they never really did.
Well, because they traded for Brandon Jennings.
So
this
you kept
summer.
thinking,
And the coaching was never right.
Yeah.
Brandon Jennings almost sent us to the playoffs. Do I have to remind you? Reggie
What,
Jackson
when he
wouldn't
had-
even be a part
Do
of this
you
team.
mean when
if Brandon
he
Jennings
won
didn't get
7
hurt.
straight games, the greatest win streak of all time? Like, what do you?
They were
they
going
won
to-
7 straight games.
Yeah, but
dude.
for at the time, they had nothing else going for
Joey,
them.
just
in
be-
years, that was already the start.
you know,
of this
at that
lull.
time, I believe they were 5-24 or something. Their record was like 5-24, and Jennings goes. They go on a 7-game win streak, and the East is so bad that it gets them within 3 or 4 games of the playoffs, and everybody's talking about it.
Hey,
Don't
that's
get
enough.
me wrong.
I can't jump on the Brandon Jennings train.
That's enough.
He's the same guy that used to pass up layups for mid-range jumpers.
Yeah, let me just crossover, step back, fade away.
Yeah.
I like Brandon Jennings. I wish he came. I wish Stan would have brought him back because I would have brought more buzz to this team. But,
Right.
And he actually looks solid as a backup.
But you
point
kept
guard.
thinking that, like, okay, we'll get over the hump eventually. And now it's starting to get worrisome because now we have nothing. At least, like how we talk about, we have no
we have
assets.
a superstar.
We have the first superstar that, like, Detroit has ever had that they
Since
actually
Grant Hill.
went out and got
We'll trade him
necessarily.
for, yeah.
And I don't know if it's enough because we don't have enough around him. That's why me and Malik have been pretty advocate about getting rid of Drummond.
Drummond and
it
Reggie.
really hurts after seeing this year's Drummond because he did prove himself. He's really improved. His defense is actually starting to get a little bit better. He's being more involved in the offense in not a scoring option as more of the facilitator, like you said. So that gives you hope, but man, we don't have anything to build around. So it's
If
a
you're-
tough.
If you're gonna sell Andre Drummond, this is the summer to do so because you're not gonna have more value for him.
No.
He's increased because it's just all those variables that how far can he go with his free throw shooting? He's jumped 30% this year. And it's just that unknown that people don't really know. He's going to average, I think he's going to be like the first player to average 16 rebounds in a game since Dennis Rodman. It's just a lot of different variables. If you really want to shake up this roster, your only true way is to trade Andre Drummond. Reggie Jackson, I think they'll look at it. They've looked at it. They almost made that Eric Bledsoe trade until it kind of fell through last minute and Bledsoe goes to Milwaukee. But I think they have to trade Reggie Jackson. I do.
That's the other problem too, is that, like, we always talk about it, that Reggie Jackson is always on that edge too of, like, being mediocre to great. And he's, like, just in this
He
weird
wavers.
spot. And he's kind of what a lot of Detroit point guards have been recently, where they're kind of these combo guards and they don't it doesn't seem to work necessarily. And I don't know what it is in the offense that they just can't.
Well, I think the biggest thing with Reggie was the knee tendonitis. Before that knee tendonitis, that playoff year,
He showed 1 year of All-Star
that
potential.
he
I
played.
thought he was an All-Star.
He
snub
played
that
like
year.
he played like an all-star that year. He had a couple player of the week awards. I think he had one player of the month award too when the Pistons were playing really well. But when that knee tendonitis kicked in, he never was the same. He never had that boost. He never had that burst. Even when he came back this year, he was better than he's been, but he didn't have that blow by speed that he had in 15-16. If I'm the Pistons front office, whoever that may be, I look to potentially trade Reggie Jackson, maybe not for as much of a playmaker, but maybe somebody that spreads the floor, a really good three-point shooter at the guard position, because as we've seen the latter parts of the season, if you're going to keep Blake Griffin's playing a lot point forward. He's averaging, with the Pistons, I believe, 6.2 assists per game. And that makes you not need to rely on a point guard as much. So if you have a better shooter, I feel like it just fits the mold more, especially if you're going to double down on the Blake Andre front line. So did you have a best moment, Joe? I don't know. I think we kind of went off a tangent there.
Yeah, we definitely did. But that's my fault. The my best moment, I guess, was the start of the season. Where we started off kind of hot. And because I had
You did have no
expectations for this team at all. I was very skeptical. I think, Chris, you had them as like an 8th seed kind of going in.
8-7.
And I want to say that I picked them as like the 9 seed, like just missing the playoffs.
Honestly, I think you were pretty right on point.
But I was really getting a little bit excited actually for once. And I was like, okay, maybe this team is different. Maybe they're starting to play defense. Maybe they're going to do something.
When they beat Boston in Boston, I thought, okay, this is for real.
And then I don't know, they just fell flat. And then the Blake Griffin trade was actually kind of exciting.
Which one is it, Joe? Pick your best moment.
Well, I think it's the start of the season.
Okay. Malik, do you have a best moment, or are you more so just kind of disappointed on the season?
Even though I am disappointed, I have to say the best moment would be when I saw that they were in second place in the East when they were 14-6, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing, how good they were playing, and they were coming off of the Boston win, and they were beating a whole bunch of teams that they usually don't beat. So early part of the season.
I'm gonna take the Blake Griffin trade just because I think it brought a whole lot of buzz to a team that had no buzz because they were falling flat on their face at the time. And yeah, he is the best player the Pistons have had since their best 5 alive, since that 04 team. And I think he's playing really well. It's unfortunate how bad his contract is and how much we gave up to acquire that contract. Yes, I understand that. But it's exciting to get a star caliber, not superstar caliber, but a star caliber player in Detroit. So that'll be my best moment. Lowest moment, it's them falling flat. I think we can all kind of agree to that. When you start 14-6 and kind of go on, I can't really remember what the losing streak was. It was like an 8-game losing streak or something. That really
I think
brought them down to earth.
One of the other low moments is that, again, Stan Van Gundy hasn't been talked about too much as
that's a low moment
being on the hot seat.
I mean, Mark Stein reported it. I believe we touched on that New York Post. That
right.
If the Pistons don't make the playoffs, he's out as both the president and the coach. But he said he's already out as the president.
Right, and I would hope that they stick to that because I think it's time for change.
I want to ask one quick question to you guys too. Is this team better off now after the conclusion of the 2017-18 season, how they are right now, how they're constructed, how they're coached, or are they better after the 16-17 season? If you can just wash away this season, do you do it?
Man, that's hard to say. I would say no. I think in the short term they're worse off, but I think in the long term this is the start to a full-on rebuild, which I think would be a good thing.
You think it's in the long term it's going to be a full-on rebuild? Like when do you see
I think
that
this
starting?
I think this is the start of somewhat, maybe not a full-on rebuild, I guess, but just a big change in this team's dynamic, whether front office and players.
Okay. And then Malik?
I think things are changing because Blake Griffin is here. It's going to be a different team, but I don't really think they've started a rebuild yet because I still see them just staying in the middle,
of the
for
pack.
years to come.
Which is why I think they need to really consider rebuilding and try to build around Blake Griffin, like they've kind of talked about.
I mean, you can't really rebuild around Blake Griffin. The dude's 29.
I know, but like
he's going to be
that's
here for
what
5 years.
Yeah, that's what we've just kind of said to ourselves is that we're sticking with Blake Griffin. So
Yeah.
You
fair
either
enough.
trade Andre and Reggie, or you have to figure out a way to get a top pick.
There's
Trade-
no way you're getting a top
You
pick
have
with this.
to.
There's no way you can
Or
get
a
a
lottery pick at least.
trade Blake Griffin.
You can't get a lottery pick for Blake Griffin now. Tell you what, I can't believe the Pistons gave it up.
Make the trade.
I do. Before we move into the playoff preview, I do want to touch on the Gorse comments. Joe, did you see any of the Gorse comments?
I didn't, actually.
So, to summarize, he sat down with the media at halftime of the home finale last night in the loss of Toronto, and Gorse basically said they're disappointed. Him and Stan are going to have a meeting in LA next week to discuss the future. And when asked what is the future, he said, I don't know. He said, that's what we need to find out. He said, but there will be change. So, reading the tea leaves, I think we're going to see a new front office with Stan still the president, because all the front office is up for contracts. Like Jeff Bowers, I think he's gone.
Right.
All the scouting, I think most of it's gone. I think the only way that Stan stays is he sells on him getting a new front office and building around that. What's your inclination with Stan Van Gundy as we draw to a close of the season, Joe? I know we've talked about it a lot, but
and I've
each
said
week
it before.
changes and you have a new opinion.
I've said it before. I think he needs to go. And if by some chance that he stays,
I know you think he needs to go, but do you think the Pistons decide to move on from Stan? What do you think Gorse does?
man,
I understand that you
it's
think
hard
it
to
should be
get
gone.
inside of his head, but the way that it sounds is a little bit promising that they're really considering moving on from him, and that's why they're going to have this talk. And if somehow Stan can wiggle his way back in, and then maybe they'll keep him. And I guess it's going to depend on this meeting, but I still think that if he's going to stay, I would rather him be the coach than drafting.
But I understand. I don't know. To me, I feel like if you're already asking me to relinquish one of my titles, I might as well just walk out the door. So that's what I see from
Right.
Stan's point of view.
Yeah.
In the Van Gundy era, through the 4 years, they're 151 and 176. So they're 25 games under 500 through his first 4 years. Malik, what's your inclination? Do you think Stan's here next year, or do you think he's gone?
I think Stan's gone.
You think next week Gorse is going to announce Stan Van Gundy has been relieved of coaching duties?
Well, thinking about Tom Gores, I don't think he'd get rid of Stan Van Gundy as the coach. I hope he does. I think Stan needs to go get Chauncey in the organization and hire Mark Jackson.
Oh man, yeah, I like David Fisdale.
I like David Fisdale.
Mark Jackson or David Fisdale.
I think David
either one.
Fisdale fits the
Yeah.
Detroit mold
Yeah,
a
I
little
would
bit
love
more.
that.
I agree. Like Mark Jackson's a good coach,
Yeah.
obviously.
I think we can all agree Chauncey Billups
Yeah,
in the front
if
office.
you have-
That's
If you have Chauncey Billups and David
Oh,
Fisdale,
man.
I think that's great because David Fisdale is a player's coach. He likes and like a lot of the players really respect his coaching. So I think that whole mesh just seems like it would work.
If Chauncey Billups gets hired as the president of basketball operations, I will wear my autographed Chauncey Billups jersey for the whole summer of all the shows.
I
Every
think
single one.
I'd be back in as a Pistons fan.
I think a lot of people
I'd
will
be
be back
back
in.
in.
I
Oh,
think, I mean, if you're Gorse thinking about how to boost your brand, you have to take a hard look at Chauncey Billups. Yeah,
Right.
Billups is saying, yeah, I'm not interested right now, but that's because Stan's in the spot.
Right. You know Chauncey would love to be in
Yeah.
the front office of
He would
Detroit.
love to
He
follow
said
the
it, but
footsteps of Joe
he
Dumars.
said
too.
it before that he just loves Detroit. He loves
The
this
second
town.
home.
Right. So I think if you announce Stan Van Gundy's out in Detroit, I think you look at Chauncey Billups.
Yep. Completely agree. So that about does it for our Pistons in review. Again, of course, we will touch on any Pistons rumors that come on. We will touch on draft prospects the Pistons may look at because they do have a second round pick. And there's that slim possibility they trade into the first round. So you do have to break down the draft stuff. So it's not the end of Pistons talk, but it's the end of the 2017-2018 Pistons basketball talk.
Yeah, we'll get some weeks off from the Pistons. Except for next week, I guess, if they're going to have that meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on when the meeting is, but yeah,
True.
it could be. But moving on to the playoff preview, where matchups aren't officially set yet, but we'll give our best opinions. We'll try to figure it out. The NBA says there's 56 possible seeding scenarios still in play with 2 nights to play in the NBA.
With most of those being in the West.
Most of those being in the West. The 3 through 9 seeds in the Western Conference are still essentially up for grabs. Minnesota plays at Denver tomorrow night, Wednesday night, to decide who goes to the playoffs. So the playoffs kind of start
that's-
on Wednesday
that's
night. It's a
game
playoff
one.
game. That's game one. It's in Denver. Before we get into the playoff preview, who you guys got? Minnesota or Denver? In Denver. Malik, I'll start with you.
Minnesota or Denver? In Denver. I'm taking Minnesota.
You're
Especially
rocking with Cat.
Jimmy is back now. With Jimmy on that
Jimmy
team.
G Buckets is here.
Jimmy and Karl Anthony Towns.
And he did call out his team the other night, saying that they didn't play hard enough.
Karl
and-
Anthony Towns versus Nikola Jokic is going to be
Yoki had another
phenomenal
triple-double last
matchup to
night.
watch.
Oh, my gosh. That dude's...
He's the most underrated player
Gary
in the
Harris
NBA.
is back for the Nuggets.
Yes, he is. He missed 11 straight games, and he's back. Joey, I think you're going to pick the same way I am, but I'll let you go first.
I'm going with the bandwagon. I'm riding the Denver Nuggets.
I'm right there with you.
And
I'm
I don't
going-
Really?
I don't think it's just because it's the home game. I just think they're on a good streak right
Yeah,
now,
they're
and
hot.
the Timberwolves are ailing. I understand that Jimmy Butler is coming back, but
They haven't been the same since
Andrew
Jimmy
Wiggins has really struggled this season,
Right.
and
He lost his place on the team when Jimmy came.
so like going into the season, the Timberwolves were considered one of the best teams in the West because of the star power that they have. Right now, the only stars I'm seeing are Cat and Jimmy Butler. I think Jeff Teague's a great role player for that team, but Andrew Wiggins is not holding up to his contract at all.
Not at all.
So
Jamal
I think-
Crawford has been better than him.
So I think that
Well,
Denver,
okay, all right, Malik. Let's
My
let's
man.
chill out.
Jamal
Jamal-
Crawford has been more consistent.
but anyway,
Oh
than
my
Andrew
gosh!
Wiggins.
but
all
I
right.
think that Denver is a very balanced team, and now that they have Paul Millsap is rolling, and they have Jokic as well, Gary Harris for a defensive player, they found their point guard, which
Jamal Murray.
they struggled with throughout
It's a really
throughout
nice
half of the
backcourt.
season.
Yep.
Jamal Murray has now become their point guard. He's looked good. I just think they're a little bit more balanced of a team. They got Will Barton, Wilson Chandler as well.
Imagine that crowd too tomorrow night.
Yeah, so
It's gonna be electric.
I think Denver really has a good chance.
And also the Timberwolves haven't made the playoffs since 2004. That streak could extend another season,
Which will be a big disappointment. this
especially with
year.
how hot they started. They were in the top 3 discussion before Jimmy went out with his injury, and they talked about Jimmy being an MVP caliber, which he was playing like too. More scenarios at play here. The Portland-Utah winner, they play Wednesday night. Portland's up a half game on Utah for the 3 seed, which is crazy. Utah's gone 32-9 since their atrocious start.
Yep.
Donovan Mitchell. Let's talk about
They were
some
at
Donovan
they were
Mitchell here.
they were at the bottom of the West to start the season. They had a worse record than the Magic at one point.
Yeah, it was not. I mean, you have the defensive player of the year and Rudy Gobert. I think it is Rudy Gobert going to be defensive player of the year.
I would argue against
They have the
it.
best. They have the best defense in the NBA,
Right.
and they have who and Joe. Let's take a sidetrack
Oh
here.
boy,
Who do you think who's your defensive player of
So,
the year? If you're
this-
not giving it to Rudy Gobert,
this
Who
took
is
me
your
a really long time to think about, just because Draymond hasn't been as good this year defensively. Kawhi Leonard's been hurt. Rudy
That's-
Gobert's been hurt. Jimmy-
okay, Rudy hasn't missed. He's played, I believe, like 66, 67
He
games.
still missed a good chunk of games.
So is Draymond.
Jimmy Butler has been hurt a lot of games. I went with Anthony Davis, averaging almost 3 blocks a game,
Didn't he
averaging
miss a
about
good
Their
chunk of
team
games?
defense
steals.
is terrible.
It's
What is?
defensive player.
But the
We're not talking about the defensive
the best
team of the
defensive
year.
player should have some effect on the team defense
I
as a
don't-
whole.
I don't think so.
How many games did Anthony Davis miss earlier in the
Yeah, he's
season?
Defensive player of the year.
All
Because
right.
there's a point where DeMarcus Cousins was holding that team together.
Oh,
I'm just
man.
going by numbers.
But here's the so let's say the Jazz beat.
That award is up for grabs.
Yeah, it is. If the Jazz beat Portland, they'll be the 3 seed. If they lose, they could fall all the way to number 7. And then looking at the other teams in the West, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and New Orleans could all be anywhere from 4th through 8th in the West. Minnesota could finish anywhere from 5th through 8th. If they beat Denver, they could also finish 9th, like we talked about. And the Nuggets, if they beat the Timberwolves, will be 5th, 6th, or 7th.
And I think the Spurs play the Pelicans on Thursday. I think for their
Spurs?
last game. I think
Yeah, I
the
believe
Pelicans
so.
and the
Yeah,
Spurs
yep.
play. So that'll be another interesting.
The
one.
only clinched spots in the playoffs so far is Houston at 1, Golden State at 2, and Toronto at 1 in the East, Boston at 2 in the East, and Indiana at 5. Philly and Cleveland can swap. I mean, Philly's 3 right now, Cleveland's 4. Philly has a half-game lead on the Cavaliers. That could be a flip-flop. For the sake of arguments here, I put together an East-West standings just because there's so many scenarios that could be at play. So if it ended this way, what are your playoff predictions? As I have it for the East, if playoffs started today, Toronto at 1, Boston at 2, Philly at 3, Cleveland at 4, Indiana at 5, Milwaukee at 6, Miami at 7, and Washington as the 8th seed. Let's break down those first-round matchups here. Toronto at Washington. Or Toronto versus Washington. You see anything crazy? Because Toronto kind of struggles in those Game 1 matchups, especially early round series, Joe.
No, I think the Raptors they'll get out of the first round. The Wizards, they just haven't looked themselves this year. They've kind of been back and forth. They played better earlier in the year without John Wall. They kept talking about Gortat and all that weird drama, and I don't know. They just don't seem like they're the Wizards that have been the past few years where they've been around the 4 or 5 seed.
Their downslide is beginning.
Yeah.
Because John Wall wants out. Bradley Beal is happy when John Wall doesn't play.
Yeah, that team is kind of all out of sorts.
Yeah.
So I don't see them winning this series.
You got Toronto as well, Malik?
I have Toronto in 6.
Toronto in 6?
And Toronto is
John Wall's
court.
gonna take advantage of Kyle Lowry. Brad Beal versus DeRozan will be a great matchup. Kelly Oubre is one of the most improved players in the NBA.
He's played really well
year.
this year. That's a good
He's
call.
a really good player. They've gotten a lot out of the small amount of talent they got on that team. So I think the Wizards will push them, but the Raptors will end up.
I agree.
The Raptors have showed a lot of depth though this year. Which
I think that's
in
something
the
we haven't
past
seen.
they
really
haven't
have.
done as much. They got
Their
Fred
young guys are
VanVleet,
playing really good.
DeLon Wright.
Yeah, DeLon
Pascal
Wright.
Siakam is a really
Siakam's
good young
look good,
power forward.
especially that you could insert him as a starter.
You
And you still have Serge Ibaka, too, in
Yep.
that spot as well. OG Anunoby, rookie out of
He's a
Indiana.
lot better than I thought he'd
He's
be.
been fantastic. He's been a
Yeah.
really good three-point shooter, too. Yeah, I got Toronto in 6. Joe, you got Toronto in how many?
5.
All right, Toronto 5. Moving on to the 4-5 matchup. We'll go kind of bracket-wise here. Cleveland, Indiana. To me, this is the year we could see a non-LeBron-led team come out of the Eastern Conference. Indiana looks really good. I'm still picking Cleveland, but this Cleveland team has holes in them. They're 29th ranked defensively. Through 81 games, they're 29th ranked. That's not going to change once playoffs start, Joe.
I agree.
Malik,
Don't think that they're that good.
you don't think that? Okay.
I'm going to take Cleveland in 7 just because of LeBron
You got
James.
7 though. I think
Indiana's a good team. Victor Oladipo averaged 25 points a game.
I
this
think
year.
Victor Oladipo might be most improved player of the year.
yeah.
That guy has been
Miles Turner is a
outstanding.
really good young promising
Yeah.
center. I mean, they have depth, they have talent.
They play like a team too.
Cleveland has to get up for this one because
Domantas Sabonis
yeah.
scored 30 points the other night too.
Before the season started, we talked about how Oklahoma City got the best end of that trade by a mile.
I thought Indiana was going to be trash.
I did too. I
To
did not
be
pick them
honest.
as a playoff team. Not even close. And they had the possibility of winning 50 games. I think they have 33 losses now, but still. I mean, Oladipo's an all-star. Domantas Sabonis has come on as a starting power forward caliber player. And did they get a draft pick in that trade? I can't recall officially, but
I don't remember.
I think they won out for the sake of the trade.
They look better than OKC.
Yeah, for sure. I'm picking Cleveland in 6. I think this will be the year that LeBron gets a couple losses in the first round.
I'm doing another 5. I think Cleveland's going to win this pretty easy. I think the Pacers will push them.
LeBron
But I
hasn't
don't-
lost a game in the
but I
first
don't-
round in a long time.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to push them enough. I think the matchups are okay for the Pacers, but the Cavs, they just have so many shooters, and I don't know if the Pacers have enough on defense to stop
LeBron's
them.
putting up at least 40 and 10 twice in that series.
I can see it.
he's-
Playoff
he's
LeBron's
going-
a different animal.
In Indiana, he's going to go off once. He's going to shut that
That's
crowd
gonna be
up.
that's gonna be a really fun series, especially because the Indiana crowd that's a
Oh, yeah.
really good
Yes,
atmosphere.
it's a great fan base.
I think this would be one of the most fun matchups for the playoffs. Philadelphia versus Milwaukee. If we somehow get that as a 3-6 matchup, I see that going 7 games.
They're the exact same team.
They're close to the same thing. I think Milwaukee is more shooting.
If
more
Joel
Or they're
dynamic
just both like
playmaking.
that crazy
Yeah.
new, long,
Giannis going up against Ben Simmons.
weird athletic.
Yeah, a lot of
team.
cross matching going to happen in that series as well. This one could go either way. Yeah, it's a 3-6 matchup, but I think this could go either way, even in a 7-game series. I'm going Philly in 7, just off home court advantage, because I think this is a toss-up. What you got, Malik?
I'm taking Philly in 6 and possibly 5.
Wow, you're riding that bandwagon that hard.
I do not think. Okay, let me rethink this. Okay,
yeah.
I'll stick with Philly in 6. I'll stick with Philly in 6. I love what Jabari Parker has done. coming
Eric
off of his injury.
Bledsoe,
Eric Bledsoe has played really good the past few
Chris
weeks.
Middleton,
Chris Middleton,
Tony Snell.
they still have
Giannis.
they still have a lack of shooting, and that's something that the Sixers don't have. They have JJ Redick, they have Robert Covington.
JJ has played out of his mind this year.
They
too.
have guys
He's
that
had a
can
great
knock
year.
down shots. I mean,
They got Marco Bellinelli.
Yeah.
Ersan Ilyasova is. They don't talk about him as much. How much he impacts the game defensively. He draws so many charges on the defensive side of the floor. It makes guys think about that, and I think that's a huge benefit for Philly. Joey, who you got?
I got Philly in 6.
Philly in 6.
I think the same thing. Their shooting is incredible, especially the sneaky pickup of getting Marco Bellinelli.
That was
Oh,
a
yeah.
really good trade.
That's
Yeah.
That has
so
turned out
much.
really well for them as a guy
Because
coming
whenever
off the bench.
when JJ goes out of the game, you always have a 40% 3-point shooter on the
Right.
court.
So, and the way that Robert Covington has improved, to think that he used to be for the,
Really
a
good
player for the
defensive player.
drive is incredible.
Yeah.
So,
The first pick for the Grand Rapids Drive
yeah.
history.
So for the shooting, like Malik said, for the Sixers, I think that would push them over the edge of the Bucks. But I think this will be a very exciting series.
And then we got Boston, Miami. If it plays the way that we're projecting it to play, I'm taking Miami in 6 because
Miami in 6.
Boston won't have Kyrie, they won't have
True.
Gordon Hayward. That's your two studs. Marcus Smart's injured. You're going to rely on Terry Rozier playing close to 40 minutes a night.
Which he's played well.
He's played well, but then you also have to rely on Shane Larkin playing his backup
Yes.
minutes. Shane's 5'6". On a good day, okay, I'm gonna be mean, but he's like 5'10".
Well, what? The Miami backup is Tyler Johnson,
Yeah, he's not 5'10".
but he's not that tall.
He's a
either.
shooting guard. He's like
He's
6'5".
6'2". He's 6'2" and really athletic.
Yeah, you're gonna tell me Shane Larkin can check Tyler Johnson, please?
I
But
just don't think he's that big either.
all right, anyways, but I think there's a lot of matchup issues here. I don't know how Al Horford's gonna match up well against Kelly Olynyk. I think Olynyk can beat him off the step. Olynyk's played really well.
Yeah, how about that? They give up Kelly Olynyk and he
I
keeps
know
up his
that
good
too.
play.
And especially they've gone down the stretch. Miami has going to Olynyk closing the games at the 5 away from Hassan Whiteside. And I think that's kind of an interesting dynamic as well. D Wade's back there. He's playing well off the bench. Yeah, I'm going with Miami in 6. I'm taking the 7-2 upset this year. Joe.
I don't know if it's that much of an upset anymore,
Yeah, without injured they are.
but this is a series that I think could go 7 games. And I think I'm just going to take the flyer on the Celtics, actually.
Really?
I just think that they're young talent. I think the crowds in these 2 games are going to be great, especially with Dwayne Wade back in Miami and just being at the Garden for Boston. Those will be some exciting games. But for some reason, I just have a feeling that the Celtics are going to figure it out. They're going to figure out a way. Maybe we'll see like an older Al Horford come back from his younger days and might be able to carry this team.
Malik, who you got?
I'm gonna go with Miami in 7.
Ooh, I
Brad
like it.
Brad Stevens coaching. He's gonna get those guys ready. They're gonna be excited to play in that playoff series. But I think people forget 2 years ago when Dwayne Wade and his first stint with the Miami Heat, he lit the Charlotte Hornets up when everybody thought Dwayne Wade was done in
Yeah.
a playoff series. Dwayne Wade is gonna show up in Miami and Boston. He's gonna play very well in that first round.
I agree with you, man. I think Miami is playing decently well down the stretch here to have some sort of momentum, especially going against a injury-riddled team.
But
It's
I also
prime.
think that the Boston has good matchups for Dwayne Wade in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I think
Yeah,
they're
Jaylen
two
Brown,
young-
Jason Tatum.
2 young athletic guys coming at
Fair
an
enough.
older
yeah.
Dwayne Wade, obviously veteran and superstar of his time. I think he can still get his, but I think that will slow them down,
That's another
especially
toss-up
if
series.
this game goes to 7.
Yeah, that's another toss-up series. How do we want to do this? Do we want to finish out the East bracket or go to the West first round games?
Let's go to the West.
All right, so Western Conference, we have Houston versus Denver first round. I'm not picking anybody to beat Houston. I got Houston in 5. I'll give Denver 1 game because of home court, because of how well they play at home. But yeah, I got Houston in 5. I mean, you got James Harden, the MVP. You got one of the best 3-point shooting teams in NBA history. Clint Capella, one of the best rim running centers in the NBA. This is going to be a really tough team to beat all playoffs long.
Yeah, I actually think that if the Timberwolves made the playoffs, that they'd have a better time against the Rockets than the Nuggets do.
I'd agree with
Yeah,
you.
they would.
Which is weird But I think the Nuggets are a better team as of now. So I think the Rockets are going to take this one pretty handily. They could definitely.
It could be a sweep.
Unless they have like a poor shooting night, or like maybe James Harden from last year comes out again, which would be terrifying because then the Nuggets could actually steal the series.
Yeah.
But I think the Rockets are looking too good. I think with Chris Paul leading the charge of this team this year, they'll be a little bit different. I think they should easily win this series.
Denver gets one at home, but yeah, besides that, Rockets control it.
Yep, definitely. 4-5 matchup. I have Utah. I have them losing to Portland in that Wednesday night game versus Joey's New Orleans Pelicans.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
So Utah versus New Orleans?
Utah versus New Orleans. Let me break this down for you.
Because you have them
Joey.
losing to the Blazers.
Yes, I have them.
Actually, I think they'll beat the Blazers. I'm
It's
kind
in
of in
Portland.
agreement with a lot of ESPN that Portland is on a downturn right now, which is bad. They haven't been able to secure that home court advantage.
They've had opportunity to do so, and they just haven't.
Right.
Definitely. You could.
But
you
either
could
way, we'll go with this.
This is just
right.
to get us through our playoff preview so we can break down the teams. We're not saying this is going to happen. This is just to break down matchups of potential playoff teams. Because by the time we come on the air next week, we will already be through games 1 and 2 of the playoffs. So we want to give the people our kind of opinion of these teams moving forward.
Pelicans.
Joey's going with the Pelicans. See, how many games you got, Joe? You think it's a close series, or
I think it is. I think the Jazz are a dangerous team. Everybody takes them for granted. They're like, oh yeah, the Utah Jazz. Who do they have?
Rudy Gobert,
nobody really
player of the year.
Nobody outside of basketball knows like who the Utah Jazz are.
I don't care. They have the coach of the year.
But that's what I'm saying. Like they're a team that everybody underestimates, and they keep winning games. They're on this huge streak. They play one of the best defenses in the NBA. They're a dangerous team that you got to watch out for.
Who you got, Malik? Wait. I think I know who Malik's taking.
But Pelicans in 6.
All right.
I have Utah in 7. First of all, because I think Utah's defense can take out the few offensive options the Pelicans have. Because Anthony Davis can go off.
Anthony Davis,
Nikola Mirotic is good.
Drew Holiday.
That's
and a lot of their bench players.
I
don't trust their bench.
I don't think Anthony Davis is going to have that great of a series going against Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert.
I think he stretches Rudy Gobert, and that actually helps them getting Gobert out of that paint area.
But I don't trust their bench. And then the second reason is because the guy that I think is Rookie of the Year.
Playoff Rondo
is.
Let's not cut off Malik's
I'm sorry.
Here.
The part that I think the most important is who I think is the Rookie of the Year, Donovan Mitchell. This kid.
If you had to say, what does he remind you of, Malik?
I have not seen a rookie two guard play like this. I don't think I have in my life. And
two guard.
I have not seen a rookie two guard play like this in my life. I was too young to see Dwayne Wade. And
really, you were? I guess that's right. I'm the old guy.
To me, Donovan Mitchell is like a rookie Michael Jordan. I
was gonna say I've grown up.
Jordan.
I grew up with Kobe, Dwayne Wade. Oh man,
rookie Kobe wasn't like this. Donovan Mitchell, 21 points a game, handles, jump shot. He has everything. His finishes, his hang time. I haven't seen anything like this.
Rookie Kobe could finish though.
He did. He did, but he wasn't ready. He became great. But what Donovan Mitchell looks like in his rookie year and the impact he's had on that 32-9 to get Utah to a 3 seed, a team that nobody thought would be good this year. I haven't seen anything like this. Rookie Michael Jordan is the only thing I can compare.
I think between
and it's a good opinion.
I think between
I'm not saying anything, Malik. I mean, the computer has its own mind of its own. I don't know.
Donovan Mitchell, he held them up from completely sinking their boat, but also late in the season, Ricky Rubio really stepped up. He started the season.
Ricky Rubio was
he started the season really hot, and he kind of disappeared for a while mid-season, and then all of a sudden he started to come back on. I think that was a big factor. And Joe Ingles, one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA.
Improved. People don't pay attention to how much he's improved this year.
The big Aussie.
He's had a lot of double-doubles recently, whether in rebounds or assists. So I think as much as Donovan Mitchell gets the praise for that team, I think there are a lot of guys that go unnoticed.
Jay Crowder found himself again. After leaving the Poison.
I think people sleep a lot on Quinn Snyder too as a coach. I think he's in that finalist spot for Coach of the Year, with how this team has turned around. In and year out, the Utah Jazz are a top defensive team. They're number 1 this year. I believe they were 1 or 2 last year. But if you look at Coach of the Year options this year, there's Quinn Snyder, there's Brett Brown, and there's probably Nate McMillan in Indiana. Those are your 3, in my opinion.
You don't put them like Mike D'Antoni or Sam Mitchell?
I think there's been a couple teams that had such drastic improvement. It puts it over the top of star-studded teams being coached by solid coaches, but
right.
kind of they had those expectations. Philadelphia, I did not think they were making the playoffs this year, let alone winning 50 games and surpassing Cleveland in the conference standings.
I think I'd have to give it to the coach from Philly. What's his name?
Brett Brown.
Brett Brown.
Yeah, Brett Brown.
Just because Brett Brown had
and what he's gone through,
he had to suffer through the process.
He had to suffer
through the process. And he finally has talent, and he's showing what he can do as a coach.
I think if they give that reward to any of those 3 I just named, I think it's well deserved.
Yeah.
I got Utah on 7. I think they're deeper. I think they have better shooters, and they have star potential on the wing in Donovan Mitchell.
Yes.
But
Moving on.
They don't have Anthony Davis.
But they have Rudy Gobert, who will give Anthony Davis problems.
They don't have Anthony Davis. Moving on.
All right. 3-6 matchup. I would like to see this matchup. I have Portland versus OKC. I'm taking OKC in 6, man. The Thunder with triple-double Russ, who honestly I think is going to get his 2nd straight year of averaging a triple-double. He needs 18 in their last game. And knowing how Oklahoma City runs and how Russ thinks, he's going to get 19 that night.
He needs 19 what?
Rebounds. He needs 18 rebounds to average a triple-double.
Okay. Yeah, and he's been kind of padding his stats lately, as you can tell in some of his games.
Steven Adams has kind of been, if there was like a ball between them two, he's giving it to Russ.
Right. He's going for it.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I'm taking OKC in the star power. Portland, like you said, is kind of on a downturn a little bit. And I think when you have any team like with a Russell Westbrook, a Paul George, Carmelo is more like a stretch forward to me, honestly. But I think they have Steven Adams. I think he's their 3rd best player. Will give Portland issues. They have Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum in the backcourt. Al-Farouq Aminu has looked good this year. Yusuf Nurkic has looked good, but I think Adams will destroy Nurkic in the block, and just that star power will take OKC over Portland.
I think it depends on if Carmelo Anthony can get his act together. I think OKC's really going to need that 3rd option to get them through the playoffs. And I don't know if Steven Adams is going to exert himself so much on defense that maybe he won't be as much of a threat on the offensive end, which he's kind of shown a little bit at times. So I'm curious to see how that'll work. I know Paul George has been talking about how shooting just doesn't feel good with him lately. So that's a bit of concern going into it, that one of your star players is a little bit nervous almost, is what it sounds like. So this will really depend on who they actually play in this playoffs, because if they get the Blazers, I think they can definitely win. But if they don't get that Blazers matchup and they have to play either the Warriors or potentially like the Jazz or something, I think they could be in trouble.
Who you got, Malik?
I don't think OKC is that good of a team.
Fair enough. I mean, that's a fair point.
Still think they could win the series just because of star power.
That's why.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I think they win in 6.
Yeah, I got Thunder in 6.
I'm gonna take Portland in 7 because I think they're the better team. But OKC could still win because Russell Westbrook can go off at any point. If Paul George gets hot, it'll be hard to stop. And like you said, Steven Adams, rebounding and defense, he's gonna take out a lot of what they want to do at the rim.
Exactly. Yep. And then moving on to our last matchup, we kind of have to move a little bit faster here. Golden State, San Antonio. Yes, Golden State is injury riddled, but this is not your same old Spurs. I'm rocking with the Warriors. I got Warriors in 5. I don't think Curry will be back for this matchup, but if you got Clay and KD, there's not really much to depict here. I got Warriors in 5.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Warriors in 5 too. The Spurs somehow end up winning games. They figure a way to do it. Manu Ginobili turns back the clock every once in a while, so I think maybe he'll have one big game that they win. And LaMarcus Aldridge just looked really good this year. So I think, again, I agree. Warriors in 5.
Warriors in 5, and Quinn Cook keeps playing fantastic
Quinn
basketball.
Cook, baby. G League MVP last year. And then we got our semifinals matchups. Let's go Eastern Conference. Toronto, Cleveland. This year,
This will be a big
this
one.
will be the first year we don't have a LeBron-led team in the NBA Finals from the Eastern Conference. I'm taking Toronto in 7. This Cleveland team plays no defense. None whatsoever. Yes, you have one of the top 3 greatest players of all time. I give you that. But he's been expending a lot of energy this season. The tired legs are going to kick in sometime. I'm not sure he can carry him past Toronto. This is really a risky pick, but I'm going Toronto in 7. Joey.
What does that bracket look like?
What do you mean?
So
They would have
whoever wins that game, who do they play after? Philly?
Philly or Boston, Miami. It would be Miami in our case because Malik and I picked Miami.
Oh, okay. I think the Cavs are going to win this. For some reason, Toronto cannot get over this Cleveland hump, and I don't think it's going to change in the playoffs. I think that the Cavs are somehow going to find their way to win this series, and I think it's going to be 6 games.
Okay. Malik, you rocking with the Cavs, you rocking with the Raps.
Kyrie Irving is no longer a Cavalier.
I thought you were going to... For a second there, I was a little worried with how that take was going.
No.
But, all right, continue.
Without Kyrie Irving, it's just LeBron carrying this team.
Yep.
And I don't know if that can push him past the Raptors. The Raptors put up, I think, 124 points the last time they played Cleveland.
Yep.
And I'm afraid to say it.
Kevin Love
Because-
has looked really good.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's a crazy take that
Let's
the
see
Raptors
it.
could beat the Cavaliers.
It is. I feel like I'm going to
But
get...
this looks
scrutinized for it.
like the year they actually could get over the hump. I'm taking Raptors in 7.
All right. I like it, Malik. Let's go fast fire here. Philly, Miami. I just want to get who you guys got. I'm rocking with Philly in 6. Joe, who you got?
Philly in 5.
Malik.
I'll take Philly in 6.
All right. And then Western Conference, Houston, Utah. I'm going Houston.
Yeah, easy.
Houston in 5.
I'll go Houston in 6.
4.
Sweet. And then in the Western Conference, we have Oklahoma City versus Golden State, which would be an awesome matchup. Still wouldn't be sure if Steph Curry is back by then. So that's why I have Warriors in 7.
Warriors in 5.
Warriors in 6.
All right. And we got about 7 minutes, so we can do these conference finals real quick. So that leaves Toronto versus Philly in our Eastern Conference finals, which would be, I would be shocked if this is what it is, just because it's not LeBron. I'm not used to not seeing LeBron in the conference finals or the finals for that matter. I'm going Toronto in 6. I think Philly's too young. The fact if they get this far is crazy to me, but I'm going Toronto in 6. Malik, who you got?
Thinking of this Eastern Conference Finals is just terrifying to me because, like you said, no LeBron.
I think it would be
And-
awesome just for the sport to say, look, it's not just LeBron that comes out of the Eastern
It almost
Conference,
seems
but-
impossible that
Yeah, that's
LeBron
what-
won't get
yep.
there.
Yeah.
But I would have to take Toronto because they're more well balanced.
Well balanced. Oh gosh, I should have looked in Joey's eyes. I don't want to. All right,
Toronto
Well,
in the finals.
So
Joey,
we're
if you had to say,
man.
we've been talking about how this might be the first year that we never see LeBron in the finals, and I had them just beating the Raptors. I agree with your statement that we might not see LeBron in the finals.
and
So in turn, I am saying that I think Philly will beat Cleveland. But if we're going off of what we base,
yeah,
and it's Toronto versus Philly, I think that if Toronto's gotten over the Cleveland hump, they will win this game. They will win the series. But if it's Philly and the Cavs, I think we could see Philly in the Eastern Conference Finals.
well, we have Philly in the Eastern Conference. You mean in the NBA Finals?
Oh, is that where we're at?
We're at that conference.
Yeah,
Finals.
either way.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
So you're picking Toronto in this case, though.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that was my whole thing, is that we could see the Sixers, they'll process in the NBA Finals if they play
play
the Cavs.
Cleveland in the conference finals.
But if the Raptors have gotten over this Cavaliers hump, I think that they can sail their way to the finals.
Can I take back my Cleveland-Toronto pick?
You want to go Cleveland?
Cleveland.
That's not a I don't have time for this, Malik. We have 5 minutes left in the show. You can't throw this curveball at me.
Cleveland. I said it was just LeBron, but I forgot Kevin Love, and LeBron's going to figure out a way to get his team up in the playoffs.
Forgot.
Cleveland.
So Joey, so you're picking Philly in the NBA Finals.
Cleveland in 7.
Philly in the NBA Finals.
I'm picking Cleveland.
Cleveland
over
in
Philly.
7.
All right, and you got Cleveland in 7 over. Okay, and what about Cleveland over Philadelphia? Do you have Cleveland over Philadelphia?
Cleveland,
so you're having LeBron back in the finals after all this we went through,
Oh my
Malik.
gosh.
I feel like we just went through the craziest spiel to get to LeBron's back in the NBA
Philly,
Finals.
Toronto, Cleveland. There we go, boys.
And then Western Conference Finals, the inevitable, Houston versus
A
Golden
series
State.
everybody wants to see.
I got Warriors in 7, but I think this could be another Houston over Golden State. I could see that. Who you got, Joey?
I'm going crazy again. I'm going Warriors in 5.
Really?
I think this would be the series that the Warriors make a statement if they're going to. I think this will show their defensive prowess for this team, and especially if Steph Curry is back at this time.
You got
If he's not, it might go 6 or 7.
And then Malik, you got Warriors or Rockets?
James Harden has not been known for playing big in
Big
conference
time
finals
games.
or finals.
You're rocking with Golden State. huh?
Warriors win the championship again.
All right, bro. So we're jumping to the finals here, guys.
If Cleveland
Malik's
gets
got
to the
the-
finals, if they play Houston,
anybody gets to
Okay,
the
so we got
finals.
Warriors, Cavs, Rockets. You going?
No,
with
I'm going
Rockets?
with Golden State. I pick
Okay,
Golden State.
Okay, so
So it's Warriors Cavs once again for the
Warriors-
5th straight
well,
year.
for Malik, it's Warriors, Cavs. For you, it's
Yes.
Warriors, Raptors.
Yeah.
For me, it's Warriors, Philadelphia.
So if it was Warriors Raptors,
No matter
I have
what
the Warriors
happens.
sweeping. I think it's gonna be honestly, whoever comes out of the Eastern Conference, I think Warriors are gonna sweep. I think we're gonna get a sweep in the NBA Finals.
You pick the Warriors. Do you pick the Warriors?
Yes.
I picked the Warriors. So
and we all got sweep on board.
yeah. Well, I don't know.
Get the brooms out. Maybe one game, but yeah, that's our playoff preview.
More of the same Warriors.
More of the same Warriors
Which-
with some possible Philly dash in there, some Toronto sprinkled on top.
Young
You never
Philly to
know
the
what you can get
finals.
from the Eastern Conference. And I think that Golden State, I do think Golden State Houston is a toss up. I think that's going to be a fantastic series. And I'm pumped to get some playoff basketball back in my life. The playoffs start Saturday. I believe the first game will be 3 p.m. or 3:30. Usually that's the Toronto game. We'll see if that plays once again. Malik, another thank you for joining us. Our recurring guest, Malik Hill, host of Turnover Thursdays on 88.3 WXOU The Grizz. We'll likely see Malik again next week. He's kind of holding down the chair for us as our weekly guest.
Most definitely. I'll come back every week to talk basketball. I love doing this.
We can talk more about Michael Jordan, Donovan Mitchell comparisons. I
Rookie.
guess.
Rookie Michael
Yeah.
Jordan.
What if
What if it
Utah got to like the conference finals just to fuel Malik's opinion of Donovan Mitchell?
Rookie Michael Jordan. You
I
got to
don't-
remember the rookie part.
I don't see it. He's good.
He's
Not that
good. He's good. Good. All right. Well, that's the show for today. Malik, thanks for coming in. Joey, you're Joey. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.